Before the royal titles, the interviews, and the glossy magazine spreads, Meghan Markle was just another actress grinding in Hollywood. At least, that's the version she wants remembered. The story of grit, hustle, and a breakout role that turned her into the girl who had it all. For years, that's been her origin story. Rachel Zane on Suits, the brainy paralegal with pencil skirts, quick wit, and the kind of screen presence that made people believe she was destined for something bigger. But here's the twist. That polished narrative is being rewritten, and the new draft isn't flattering. What once looked like a glamorous rise is now being re-examined under a harsher light, and the person behind that shift, an aristocratic storm named Lady Colin Campbell, someone whose reputation for spilling tea makes even royal insiders nervous. She's not just pointing at Meghan's palace years. This time, she's pulling the curtain back on Meghan's Hollywood days. And if her sources are to be believed, the real story wasn't about grit and kindness, it was about control, coldness, and a mean girl energy that no one dared call out until now. If there's one name that can send shockwaves through both Buckingham Palace and Beverly Hills, it's Lady Colin Campbell. To some, she's an eccentric aristocrat with a sharp tongue and a taste for drama. To others, she's the woman who knows exactly where the bodies are buried, socially speaking, of course. What makes her dangerous isn't just the gossip, it's the fact that she rarely speaks without receipts, or at least enough whispers to make her claims impossible to dismiss. For years, Lady Colin made headlines dissecting royal scandals, serving her tea hotter than a Sunday tabloid. But this time, she's not talking tiaras or palaces. She's turning her gaze to Meghan's pre-royal life, those Hollywood years before the world knew her name, and the picture she paints. Less underdog actress chasing her dream, and more Queen Bee ruling the set with an iron stare. It's a shift that rattles Meghan's carefully curated story. Because if Lady Colin is right, if the rumors are more than just gossip, then the cracks in Meghan's image didn't start with the crown. They started long before, hidden under the bright lights of a TV drama that millions are suddenly rewatching. According to Lady C, the Suits set wasn't just another stepping stone in Meghan's career, it was her kingdom. Cast and crew didn't describe an actress thrilled about her big break. They described someone who walked in like she already owned the place. Silent treatments weren't rare. They were routine. Entire social circles were built and broken around her approval. One insider went so far as to say Meghan could size you up in 5 seconds flat and decide whether you mattered or not. If you were in her inner circle, it was smiles, inside jokes, and warmth. If you were out, good luck even getting eye contact. And that wasn't the odd bad day on set, it was the vibe. The word people used most often wasn't diva. It wasn't even difficult. It was mean girl, the kind who could charm the camera with ease, then go ice cold the moment the director called cut. The kind who didn't need to raise her voice to let you know she wasn't happy. You could feel it in the room. For someone who built her post-royal brand around empathy and kindness, these stories land like a punch. Because if the behavior started before the palace drama, then maybe Meghan wasn't just the victim of a toxic system. Maybe she was part of the noise all along. Normally, whispers about an actor's behavior fade with time. Sets wrap, shows end, and Hollywood moves on to the next headline. But Meghan's case is different, because Suits isn't staying in the past. Thanks to Netflix and Peacock, the show is suddenly one of the most streamed dramas in the world, with new audiences binging it like it's 2013 all over again. And here's the catch. They're not just watching Rachel Zane's sharp one-liners and will they won't they romance. They're watching with Lady C's allegations fresh in their minds. Every smirk, every sassy exchange, every icy glare on screen starts to feel less like acting and more like foreshadowing. The rewatch has turned into a referendum. Behind the scenes, PR insiders say Meghan's team is in full-blown damage control. What might have once been dismissed as gossip now threatens to rewrite her entire Hollywood chapter. Because this isn't just one tabloid rumor, it's a narrative fueled by someone with influence, amplified by streaming platforms, and dissected by millions of viewers who love nothing more than spotting hidden truths in plain sight. And if the timing wasn't bad enough, things got worse when specific stories began to surface. Stories too detailed, too oddly precise to just ignore. If the early whispers sounded vague, the next wave of stories hit with surgical precision the kind of details that spread like wildfire because they're oddly specific, too pointed to brush off as casual gossip. Take the line-stealing story. According to Lady C, Meghan allegedly asked producers to cut or rewrite a co-star's dialogue after the director praised them during rehearsals. The praise was too generous, she supposedly argued, and when the episode aired, the actor's big moment had mysteriously vanished. Coincidence? Maybe, but to fans rewatching Suits now, it feels like more than bad luck. Then came the infamous chair incident, quickly dubbed Chairgate online. A background extra had settled into Meghan's designated seat between takes. Rather than a quiet word or a laugh, Meghan allegedly walked over, tilted her head, and said, "I think you're in the wrong seat, darling." Moments later, the chair itself was removed from set. On paper, it's a small thing. In meme culture, it was dynamite. Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit ran with it. Within hours, she wasn't Rachel Zane anymore. She was the chair queen. The problem with stories like these isn't that they're shocking, it's that they're believable. They play into a larger pattern, the actress who couldn't stand sharing the spotlight, even for a second. And once the internet latches on, every old clip, every offhand joke from a cast interview starts looking like evidence. But the most dangerous part wasn't the stories themselves, it was the suggestion underneath them that this wasn't diva behavior, it was strategy, and that implication would change everything. Diva behavior can be forgiven. Hollywood is full of temperamental stars who demand bottled water at the perfect temperature or lighting that makes them glow, but what Lady C's sources describe goes beyond diva quirks. It veers into strategy, into the kind of behind-the-scenes moves that feel more like chess than chance. One story involved a guest star who quickly became a fan favorite during rehearsals. According to Lady C, Meghan allegedly pulled producers aside and complained the actor was disrupting her rhythm. The complaint didn't stick, but weeks later the actor's screen time quietly shrank. Their punchline disappeared. Their scenes trimmed. Their name slipped further down the call sheet. Whether it was coincidence or not, the message was clear: shine too brightly, and you risked being dimmed. That's where the line between difficult and calculating gets drawn. A diva can be tolerated, even indulged. But someone who allegedly plays chess with co-stars' careers, that's harder to excuse and far more damaging to a carefully cultivated brand of empathy and empowerment. Because this isn't just about awkward moods or cold shoulders anymore. It paints a picture of someone who protected her spotlight at all costs, even if that meant moving other people off the board. And if that sounds harsh, what made it worse wasn't the allegations themselves. It was the silence that followed. In Hollywood, reputations aren't just shaped by what's said, they're shaped by what isn't. And when Lady C's stories started making the rounds, Meghan's former Suits family had the perfect chance to step in. A single tweet, a throwaway Instagram comment, even a polite "she was wonderful to work with" could have softened the blow, but that moment never came. Instead, the cast posted vacation selfies, promoted new projects, and carefully sidestepped the growing storm. Directors, crew members, costume designers, all silent, and in this industry, silence doesn't read as neutral, it reads as distance. For fans watching closely, the quiet became its own statement. If Meghan truly had been the warm, generous colleague her team describes in glossy profiles, surely someone, anyone, would have spoken up. The fact that no one did only deepened the suspicion that maybe Lady C wasn't spinning fiction after all. Even subtler signs began to surface. Crew members liking critical posts on social media, alumni interviews where Meghan's name came up only to be brushed aside with awkward smiles. None of it was explosive on its own. But strung together, it felt like a chorus of avoidance. The kind of chorus that makes people wonder what's being left unsaid. And as the silence grew, the internet did what it always does. It filled the void. The internet doesn't wait for official statements. It thrives on speculation, and Meghan's silence, combined with her castmates' silence, gave fans an open canvas. Suddenly, old interviews were being dissected like crime scene footage. A co-star's half-smile in 2014 became evidence. An awkward laugh during a panel turned into a breadcrumb in a larger conspiracy. On TikTok, creators stitched clips of Rachel Zane with sarcastic captions, "Queen of Compassion," under scenes where Meghan's character iced someone out, or "Lighting check commander" during moments of courtroom sass. Meme pages crowned her the chair queen, a mocking nod to that infamous seat incident. Even casual viewers couldn't escape the avalanche. Every scroll revealed another viral post reframing Meghan's past in the harshest light possible. And the internet didn't just resurface stories, it exaggerated them. Threads on X compiled timelines of every rumor, weaving them into a narrative too neat to dismiss. A like here, a smirk there, all repackaged as part of the same puzzle. For many, the details stopped mattering. It was the vibe that stuck, a growing sense that Meghan's Hollywood years carried shadows her current brand couldn't erase. That's the real danger of an echo chamber. Once people start connecting dots, real or imagined, perception hardens, and Meghan's polished image of empathy and resilience suddenly looked less like a story of survival and more like a carefully crafted mask. But perception isn't just a side effect. In Hollywood, it's the entire currency, and when your brand collides with a label this toxic, the fallout goes far beyond memes. Meghan's entire reinvention after leaving the palace was built on a handful of themes: empathy, resilience, empowerment. She wasn't just telling her story, she was selling it. From Oprah's interview to her podcast, the message was clear. She had survived the cruelty of others and emerged stronger, kinder, more determined to lift people up. But the mean girl label cuts straight through that narrative, because hypocrisy is the one sin audiences rarely forgive. You can recover from mistakes, from scandals, even from unflattering headlines. But once people believe you're playing both sides, preaching kindness while practicing coldness, every speech, every charity appearance, every polished magazine cover starts to feel staged. That's what makes this storm so dangerous. It isn't about whether every anecdote is true, it's about the pattern they suggest, the contradiction between the brand and the whispers. And in today's world, perception is power. A single sticky label can undo years of careful image building. Mean Girl isn't just an insult, it's a narrative, one that makes Meghan's empowerment campaigns look calculated, her compassion look performative, and her resilience look like spin. Once that seed of doubt is planted, it doesn't matter how many friends or publicists rush to her defense, the audience has already started rewriting the story for themselves. And when your brand rests on trust, losing that trust is like pulling the rug out from under everything you've built. Scandals fade, headlines shift, even royals eventually get a chance at redemption. But labels? They stick. And the one Lady C helped pin on Meghan. Those two sharp little words, mean girl, may prove harder to shake than any tabloid story. Because in Hollywood, you can survive messy divorces, feuds, even a string of box office flops. What you can't survive is being seen as fake, and that's the risk Meghan faces now. Every story, every meme, every silent co-star turns the question back on her: was the brand built on resilience and kindness ever real, or was it always a performance? The irony is brutal. Meghan once built her career playing a character who navigated power with brains and charm. But now, audiences aren't watching Rachel Zane anymore. They're analyzing Meghan Markle, frame by frame, for cracks in the image. And once people start looking at you through that lens, it's almost impossible to win them back. Maybe Meghan will weather this storm like she has others before. Or maybe the mean girl narrative becomes the one role she can never walk away from. Because in the age of receipts, memes, and viral suspicion, reputations don't just get rewritten, they get rebranded. And sometimes, the new version is the one that lasts forever.